Today's 5-minute video will be on trigonometry.
Okay, so when we're looking at trigonometry, we're looking at right-angled triangles and the relationship between the internal angles and the lengths of the triangle sides. So let us begin by labeling our right-angled triangle. So we have the internal angle theta, and then opposite theta, we have the side length, which we called opposite, or we can also just call it O. And opposite the right angle, we have the hypotenuse, or we can also call it H. And the remaining side length, besides the right angle, is called adjacent, or A. Now, we have these rules called the sine, cos, and tan rule, which is used to describe the relationship between theta and the side lengths of our triangle. So I also like to call them SO, CAR, TOA. So SO stands for sine of theta equals opposite over hypotenuse. And CAR stands for cos of theta equals adjacent over hypotenuse. And TOA, so what do you think TOA means? So TOA means tan of theta equals opposite over adjacent. Now with our math problems, usually we're given like two sides and then we need to find the angle, or we're given the side and an angle and we need to find the value of the other side. So let's go through one of these problems. So let's say this angle is 18 degrees and we're given the opposite length, which is 17, and we need to find the value of the hypotenuse. So let's look at what we have. We have our angle. So this is our angle. We have opposite. Here's opposite and here's opposite. So we know that we're not going to be using our cos rule to solve this question. So let's cancel that because we have no opposite inside that rule. And next, what do we need to find? Our x, which is the hypotenuse. So if we look at the sine rule here, we have the hypotenuse. If we look at the tan rule, there's no h, there's no hypotenuse there. So we know we can't use the tan rule either. So we're going to be using the sine rule. So sine of 18, which is our theta, equals opposite, which is 17, over x, which is our hypotenuse. So x times sine of 18 equals 17, and x equals 17 over sine of 18. And that's our answer. So let's do another question. So let's again look at what we have. We have our angle, we have our adjacent, which is here and here. So we know we can't use the sine rule. And what do we need to find? We need to find our x, which is our opposite in this case. So we have opposite here. So we can use the tan rule, and we won't be using the cos rule. So tan of 23 equals opposite, which is our x, over adjacent, which is 18. So x equals 18 times tan of 23. So finally, we may be given a question where we need to find the value of our theta. We'll be given the lengths of two sides, and we need to use that to find the value of theta. So let's see what we have. In this question, we're given the hypotenuse, which is part of the sine rule and the cos rule, so we're not going to be using the tan rule in this question. And we also have opposite. Opposite is found in our sine rule and not our cos rule, so we're not using cos. We're using this rule today for our problem. So sine of theta, which we don't know, is equal to 15 over 23. Now to find or to write the equation for the value of theta, we can write theta equals sine to the power -1 over 15 over 23. So this is the inverse of sine actually. And that's how we write that equation. And in summary, this is what we have learned today in our 5-minute video. Thank you for watching and hope to see you soon.